Hey, thanks for tuning in to another Tuesday Cruiser Chat with Otram. Same as usual. No real plan for the evening. So whatever questions you guys have. You see Nigel's already on here with a question, and yeah, I don't think cruisers and good miles per gallon, go together. Yeah, it's been cold here. Even my wife's Prius is getting crap mileage with the winter weather. Yeah, I think it's partially the winter blend gas, and then partially just the colder weather. Doesn't seem to help things. Oh, that is bad. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you. Like no check engine lights or anything. Oh, and I should say that the latest batch of 1FC crank holding tools came in yesterday. Got them broached, blasted, and painted, and inventory is up on the website. So if anybody's been waiting for the 1FC crank holding tools to come back in stock, they came back in this morning. Yeah, and finally finished editing and uploading the last of the 1FC head gasket video. We're dropping that engine back in tomorrow. Wiring on the 3FE, swapped 40, so that's moving along, and started on the fuel system for that today. Yeah, bunch of projects jumping back and forth at the shop. And yeah, the crank tool took off way faster than I thought it would. I put a post up on Mud and, gauging interest, and got no response. And then I posted the first small batch I ran on Instagram, and they sold out quick. And then we got batch 2, and that sold out in like a couple of hours. So batch 3 came in yesterday, and I've got a 4th batch on order since they take a while to cut. But yeah, moving right along. Okay, I do have one idea for Nigel's really, really bad fuel consumption, but it's probably not a good one. Are your tires inflated? My Subaru, I hadn't even noticed it because they slowly went down with the cold weather, but all my Subaru tires were low, and I aired them up, and my mileage went up a little bit, but they were way low. And hey, Logan, what's going on? But yeah, with no check engine light, I don't even know where I would start with that. I would think maybe the winter blend gas, but I don't know. Yeah, if you're using remote start and idling it a lot, that will kill gas mileage with a quickness. I didn't even think of that. They don't mind idling, they just drink a ton of gas doing it. And hopefully, chat is still coming through on you guys' end. I've got the spinning wheel on my end. Our internet has been going in and out at the shop and here at the house all day today. But hopefully video and audio are still coming through. I can still see comments popping up, but I can't see my video. Oh, it's working on the other end. Who knows? But that's creepy because it's just like stuck and spinning. Can you guys hear or see me on the other end? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can refresh it without losing you. Let me see. Okay, that does work. Yeah, our internet's been really crappy. I was trying to write estimates today, and every 2 or 3 minutes, the internet would drop out just long enough to freeze everything. So yeah, Nigel's got a good point. If anybody else is getting the spinning wheel of death, refreshing seems to fix it. I wish we had more options for internet providers here. Sweet. Yeah, that's always my biggest worry when doing live chats is that the internet's going to crash in the middle of one. Oh, and I titled and tagged and insured the Shop 80 last week and got a windshield put in it and changed the oil and was going to start driving it, but when we when we put it in the air to check the brakes before we took it over for inspection, we realized both rear calipers were leaking. So I had to order a pair of calipers for it. But I should have those here tomorrow. So hopefully the Shop 80 will be on the road soon. And we can start shaking the mechanical bugs out of it and get it ready to start building. Because I'd really like to have that put together to take it to Coal Mine Cruiser Classic in July. Planning a trip out west, end of March, 5 to 10 things to check before a long trip. Check your wheel bearings. Like every truck that comes into the shop has loose front wheel bearings. We almost never see loose rear wheel bearings on an 80, but the fronts are like always loose. Check your wheel bearings. Check your brakes. Check all your fluids. Check the condition of your belts and hoses. Trying to think of what else. Check your battery. Make sure it's up to snuff. And check your tire pressure. Like I just usually, like before I go on a long trip, just roll around under the truck, just give everything a good look over, make sure I don't have any leaks. Nothing looks funky, out of place. Like I'll grab suspension links and drive shafts, things like that. Give them a yank. Just make sure everything's tip top. Ward wants to know, tie rod end and drag link seem fused to the ends on the 80. Should I buy a used rod link or keep trying to separate? If they do separate, will the rust degrade their effectiveness? If I've seen them get rusty enough that once you do finally get them to come free, they do rip the threads out of the rod. So you could look for a used rod. I don't know if they still do. Bud Built used to make a very reasonably priced heavier duty tie rod and drag link combo for the 80 series. And those are super beefy. I just got the special taps to start building them in-house at the shop, but I haven't actually built any yet. So Bud would be your current best choice for getting them. If Bud's not doing them anymore, I can do them. I'm just not fully set up to yet. But that's probably the route I would go, is new tie rod and drag link, and anti-seize the new tie rod ends before you put them in, to try and help keep them from getting them stuck in the next rod. And Jamie wants to know difficulty of installing factory locked axles to unlocked truck. If you've got the entire axle assembly, it's not terrible. I haven't actually done it, but looking at other trucks that come through the shop, the wiring for the lockers is already in the truck, at least on a lot of them. So you just need, the switch and the locker ECU and the little harness that comes from the frame down to the axle. Going brain dead. So supposedly, theoretically, the wiring is all there. You just need the controller, the switch, and the harnesses. And then it should be plug and play. Trying to put locked differentials into unlocked axle housings gets trickier, because you've got to cut the housing bigger and do some weld buildup to make a gasket surface. But from everything I've read, it should be just plug and play if you're swapping the whole axle, and you've got the other parts that go with it. So try and get the two axle to frame harnesses and the locker ECU. The switch is easy enough, to get from like Cruiser Brothers or even Toyota. If I was going to install a selectable, I'd go Harrop over an ARB. I'm just tired of dealing with the O-rings and air leaks on ARBs. The Harrops seem so much simpler. It's just an electric wire going down to them. You cut the electric wire. It's easy to splice back. And, you don't have the leaking O-ring problem in the diff that you got to pull everything down again to fix. What can be done to change GDI to normal injection? I have absolutely no idea, because we don't have the GDI here. I would assume it would take a different motor. And to Mitch, do we deal with a lot of immobilizer issues on the 100 series? Luckily, I haven't yet. I don't think I've run into any. I'm trying to think. I think the only electrical issue we've done on a 100 series, we had one with a weird wiper problem, and then one with a dead screen on the navigation. But I haven't actually had to get into the immobilizer yet. I'm trying to think. There's a guy on Mud in the small business section that sells like an immobilizer bypass jumper kit thing for the fuse block. At least I think that's what it is. It's been forever since I've looked at it. But that may be something to check out if it's not an easy fix. See if I can find it real quick. Updates on the shop. We are swamped. I think there's like 30 cruisers there right now, and it's just me and Crash working on them. So yeah, we are slammed. Technically, we are supposed to get the extra space April 15th, but I talked to the guys that are on the other half of the building, and they haven't found their new shop yet. So they're asking if they can get an extension, which, yeah, I would love to have the other side as soon as I can possibly get it. But yeah, we've been collecting more tools, stuff like that, so that, we've got stuff to go in the other side once we get it. $200 doesn't seem hateful for a used tranny. I haven't gone looking for them lately, but that doesn't seem bad. I went looking for a solid axle power steering box yesterday used, and the cheapest I could find one was like $400 near me. It's insane what used parts are getting up to. And here's the link for the immobilizer bypass guy on I Hate Mud. I'm not entirely certain that's what your issue was, but I have seen that. I haven't installed one yet, but that may possibly help. Guys, can you go in the other room? Yeah, shipping on that's probably not going to be cheap. No job openings yet for another tech. Right now, there's just absolutely no space. My shop's super small. It's like 3 bays. So between Crash and I, we are tight. I think we're adding, it's probably 4 bays when we get the other half of the building. So we will likely add another tech, but that's a couple months down the road because I want to get the other side all set up and ready to rock first. I can pay in sandwiches. I don't know about gum, though. We always have Sour Patch Kids at the shop. Yeah, with the way we keep getting busier and busier, I'm gonna have to add a third guy. Yeah, paper clips generally aren't great fuse replacements, but they will get you home. I have done some very sketchy, stupid things in my day to get a truck home, and I've lived to tell about it. Yes, too much business is a good thing. I hate to tell people it's like, hey, I'm gonna be a month out. I'd much rather have a shorter waiting list than that. But no, it is a good thing. Because more business feeds my tool addiction. I picked up a really awesome Walker Turner radial drill press from like the 40s a couple of weeks ago, and it is sweet. I really, really like it. Now I just need to get room to put it somewhere in the shop because, like, right now it's sitting between 2 bays because we don't have anywhere to stick it. Yeah, we generally have Sour Patch Kids and the Fruity Tootsie Roll Bites. Yeah, and goldfish. I love fishes. Yeah, I think I would totally use a paper clip if I was in negative 10-degree weather as well. Now, Joe, are you asking me if I'm planning to attend any events out west? And if so, not anytime soon. I haven't been to a wheeling event with a vehicle in eons, and as a passenger, it's probably still been 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I just never have the time to get out. Like, I'll sign up for semi-local events, and then I'll get so busy prepping everybody else's truck for said events that I just am exhausted by the time the event rolls around and I don't go. But I am really shooting for making it to Coal Mine Cruiser Classic this year. And I might also try to make it down to Relic Run in North Carolina. That one will probably be as a passenger, since I think my dad's going to that one. But yeah, my vacations usually involve foreign countries, with no wheeling. My wife and I do a whole new country year thing. So that takes up, the big chunk of vacation that I would give myself. This year's Portugal. If anybody knows anything about Portugal, let me know, because we're going in April. And yeah, no, I'm not burning out. I love what I do. It's just, yeah, even when I was wheeling years ago, I only wheeled in order to break my truck, because I liked building the trucks way more than actually wheeling them. My dad's got a 76 FJ40 with a toy box, low range gears in the back case, 3-linked rear, spring over front. I think he's on 37s now. But yeah, it's a pretty cool 40. I did the suspension and toy box on it. Yeah, 10, 15 years ago. It's been forever. They do speak Portuguese, and I just got my learn European Portuguese language program. That's not helping. Yeah, my dad's got a 7640. Mom's got a 65 FJ45. My brother's got a 96 or 97 80. And my nephew's got, I think it's a 94 80 series. So yeah, everybody's got cruisers in the family. I was the black sheep with only having the 4Runner until recently. I don't know if they've got them. I would assume they do. But I don't know. It's weird, like, we've been a couple of times to Europe, and we saw the most cruisers of all in Ireland. They had a ton of little 90 series, which were super awesome. To Keith, got a noise like water running, gurgling through heater core on acceleration. Did you recently flush or drain the cooling system? If you did, I would try bleeding it again and, bleed it with the front end jacked up, and maybe get like a cooling system burp funnel from like Amazon. If you haven't drained and or flushed it recently, that's a sign of a head gasket failure also, because the exhaust gas displaces the coolant, pushes the coolant into the overflow bottle, and the heater core is generally the high point. So the exhaust gas accumulates up there, and you hear the coolant gurgling through in there. To MMA, would a 2002 Land Cruiser repair manual work for a 2000 LX470? For the most part, it should. I don't know if the O2 repair manual for a cruiser has the AHC stuff in it. And some of the wiring colors might be different. Like when I had my old Supra, it was a 90, and the factory manual I had for it was an 89. And some of the wire colors, pinouts were different, but mechanically it was all the same. And to Logan, I'm assuming you're talking on an 80 series. I haven't dealt with a bearing going out in a power steering pump, at least not that I've actually tracked it down to. We've replaced them for noise, but it was always a noise that sounded like one of the vanes had broken. Um, and I never took one apart to actually diagnose what the actual noise was, other than it was making a noise. How can I turn? I'm not really sure what Armin's question is. Yeah. Uh, idle. Do. How do you turn the idle down on a Land Cruiser 2000 EFI? I don't think you can. It's computer controlled, and the computer deals with it. The older ones had a screw that you could adjust, but I don't think on the 100 series that you can. If the idle's out of spec, something else is wrong that's making it be out of spec. I'm trying to think. I don't know that I've ever done the 0-point calibration on 100. Actually, I must have, because I've done a steering rack in them. I was going to say, I know I've done it on a Tundra, and I've done it on a Camry. But yeah, with the factory scan tool, you just go through the menus, find 0-point calibration, and follow the on-screen instructions. It's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years since I've done one. So beyond that, I'm not sure, but I always just follow the on-screen instructions in the scan tool. Yeah, bearing going out. Usually it's like a low grumbly sound in a water pump, or you'll get like a squeal. The 80 series power steering pump, since it's not belt driven, I'm not sure. Like the power steering pumps we've had going out replaced, kind of sound like a baseball card in bicycle spokes, kind of like a click, 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 click kind of sound. So yeah, it's so hard to do sounds over the internet. And yeah, Mitch is on the right idea with the 100 series idle being the throttle motor or the pedal switch, or the accelerator pedal position sensor. But yeah, as far as I know, you can't actually manually adjust it. Have you checked the tensioners? Like the tensioner pulley that sits kind of in front of the oil pump cover, because that's where we usually hear a noise that sounds like that on the 80. I've never had to replace an 80 series water pump for being bad. I'm sure they do go bad, but I've never never had to do one. Did you use new Toyota idlers or are they aftermarket? Because if they're aftermarket, I've seen those go bad in short order after installing them. And I guess it could also be your alternator. Um, if your alternator bearings are going out, or if the brushes are on their last legs and are scraping on the back. Hmm. Then I'm not sure. Oh, I guess it could also be your AC clutch. Um, that's probably if you've got new alternator, new tensioners. I would probably look at the AC clutch before I looked at the power steering or the water pump, and that one's easy because you can just pop the AC belt off, and if the AC noise or if the noise goes away, then you know it's the AC clutch. Because I have heard those make screechy, grindy noises before. And yeah, the LX470 with the VSC engaging and braking on turns, that is weird. Um, you know, I can't believe it isn't throwing codes that point you in a direction of like a failing solenoid or speed sensor or something like that. Um, yeah, that one's just weird. And to Logan, you can get a new, like just a new, I'm going brain dead, AC clutch bearing and clutch, and you can take it apart. You just have to be careful because you have to reshim the air gap for the clutch or it won't work right. Um, so yeah, you can take it apart. It's just a little bit tricky, and it's easier to do with the whole AC compressor sitting on the bench in front of you because you got to like drop the shims down on the shaft. But it's not super difficult to do, and you could probably do it with the AC compressor still in the truck, assuming it's the clutch. And on MMA, before you pulled the fuse out, was it throwing codes like when it was still acting up, but before you took the fuse out? Because that would narrow it down. Because yeah, as sensitive as all those computers are, I can't believe that it would like randomly turn the brakes on and do weird things without the computer catching a glitch. Um, and it may not necessarily throw a light, but it may store something. Um, it may be worthwhile to try to get Toyota or somebody with a higher end scan tool to try to pull the ABS codes just to see if there's anything stuck in there in history codes. What did I eat for lunch? I had barbecue tofurkey tacos. I think that's all I had. Oh, and some pineapple. I had barbecue tofurkey tacos and pineapple. Awesome. Yeah, it took me forever to get part 4 filmed, and then it took me even longer to get around to editing it. But I had to take one of the pets to the vet this morning, and was I got back to the house in time that it wasn't worth driving to the shop before lunch, so I edited it before I went down to the shop today. And yeah, I guess basically they were tofu tacos. And tonight for dinner is veggie burgers and fries. And yes, I'm vegetarian. I want tacos again too, but I'm all out of taco shells. Oh, I didn't even realize it was Tuesday. Or, I mean, I know it's Tuesday, but I didn't realize it was Taco Tuesday when I made tacos for lunch. That's just what sounded good. Um, I guess 11 years in October. There are a ton of variables on an 80 series engine rebuild. Generally, we write it with a new Toyota short block, rebuild the head, new timing chain, new water pump, new oil pump, timing cover, all that jazz, and complete gasket set. And the last time I quoted it, I think it was around 9K, with pulling the engine and putting the new one in and doing the break in and all that jazz. So it is definitely not cheap. And yeah, it's been a long time of being vegetarian. Uh, every now and then I still crave like barbecue or chicken fried steak. But so far, at least, just smelling it is enough to kill the craving. So the guys at the shop next door, they eat barbecue all the time, so I just go over and smell their barbecue. Any possible future video of how to get rid of the 80 series factory alarm? Um, I doubt that's gonna come up. I've only ever undone one. And it was basically I just unplugged everything that looked alarm related and replugged the harness together. It was pretty simple. But yeah, we don't get called for it much, so I don't know that I'll have a video out on it. And yep, 11 years with no cheating on the vegetarianism. When my wife and I started dating, she was already vegetarian. So it was two shopping lists for the grocery store, 2 sets of pots and pans, 2 sets of plates, 2 meals getting cooked. Just a complete pain. And then we moved up to Boston for a while, and all the PETA posters on the subway finally just wore me down. And yeah, went vegetarian like 11 years ago. It was hard at first, but now it's fine. And fake meat has come a long way. The new Impossible Burger is awesome. Yeah, my factory alarm removal method probably wasn't great, but it was a truck that wasn't running, so I just started pulling everything that looked harness related, and then plugging everything back together. What main foods do I make? I'm I'm a terrible vegetarian since I don't really eat vegetables. So I eat a lot of like, fake burgers, like the tofurkey barbecue, uh, stuff like that. Nachos, pizza. Terrible food, but it's not meat. And Ward wants to know, what's our process to repaint, recondition a used part? It depends on the part, and it depends on the job. If it's just like a knuckle swap on a truck that's going to get beat around in the woods, we just media blast them and rattle can them. I generally don't use Pour 15 just because you need a rusty surface for it to stick to. So a clean surface, it won't stick. If it's something that I want to be nice and last, yeah, we'll media blast it and then either epoxy prime it or etch prime it, and then hit it with a 2-part urethane paint. But just about everything just gets media blasted and rattle canned. With decent rattle can, because that's going to hold up well enough for what we're trying to do. I've been looking at getting a small powder coating set up so we can powder coat parts in-house, but I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. Yeah, it is crazy how cheap the factory steel brake lines for the 100 series are. It's not even worth buying lines and fittings and making them yourself. I think some of the 80 series stuff is still available too. Trilly, what do you need? You're fine. I'm not sure. The Eastwood powder coater is in my bookmarks bar. That's probably what I would start out with. Looking at the higher end guns, man, they are wicked expensive, and probably way more expensive than what I want to do. So yeah, it'll probably be like an Eastwood or something like that. Yeah, belts at the dealer are super cheap. Spark plugs at the dealer are super cheap. It's crazy. And yeah, Trilly probably does want to go outside, but she dug under the fence last week and escaped, and I had to go run her down. So she's not going outside unattended anymore lately, until we get rid of her habit of digging under the fence. Yeah, I'm talking about you. It's hard to say. I think, most of the regular service parts, for an 80, you're probably going to be able to keep getting for quite a while at least, because in other parts of the country, the 1FZ ran longer than it did here. Like, I think it ran into like the early 2000s, in like Venezuela and other places. So I'm thinking they still have a pretty good stock on them. But yeah, I know, there's weird stuff for the 3FE that started going obsolete. Like you can't get a power steering pump for them anymore, at least not a new one. Just random things like that, or like 93, 94, 80 series downpipes and cats. Like you can't get them anymore. So it doesn't really seem to have a lot of rhyme or reason as to what goes obsolete. But at least for the time being, as quick as my local guys get me 80 series parts. Like almost everything's one day, which to me says they're still stocking a lot of it in the local hub, and it's not coming from the big distribution center in California. So I would assume there's still a really good supply of it. I could be wrong, though. Yeah, I keep hearing about the charcoal canister. I've been lucky, and I've yet to have to do one. My all-time favorite Land Cruiser is a 70 series pickup with the tray back, but I will likely never have one because those are wicked expensive. But yeah, I really like the 70 series. Yeah, the 80 series, the big to small filter size, I don't see that as a huge problem. The way I see it is if Toyota sees it as good enough to filter it, it's good enough for me with the smaller size. We go through cases of them and never had a problem. Yeah, anything 70 series, I would take. Yeah, we just use the YZZ D3, which is the smaller one. I just buy them by the case from my local guys. I think you can still order the big ones. Like, I don't think they're Toyota, but you could probably still get them in Denso. Yeah, one of these days I will get over to Australia and check out all their cool stuff. The only advantage I can see to the small one is, on initial cold start, it's going to fill faster, so you're going to come up to oil pressure faster. That's also assuming that the drain back valve isn't working. Like, with the drain back valve working properly, there shouldn't be much difference. If the drain back valve's not working, a smaller one will come up to pressure faster, but that's not a huge advantage. I've checked out some of the four-wheel drive action, but haven't much. And yeah, I think most of the 70 series are diesel. I'm not absolutely certain on that, though. Oh, and talking about the Toyota parts prices and online versus actually going into the dealer. While you can a lot of times get cheaper prices on the internet, making friends with your local dealer and supporting them can pay dividends. Like we buy all of our stuff from our local dealer. And we buy so much from them that all the regular 80 series, 100 series, and even some of the 60 and 40 series stuff, the stuff we use a lot of, they stock it now at my dealer, as opposed to having to get it in from the warehouse. So it's great, and if you build that relationship with your local dealer, they're more likely to help you find those oddball parts, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. So if you cultivate that relationship with your dealer, makes it much easier to do repairs on your truck. And yeah, Australia is going to be a ways down the road because I think I need more than just a week to get to Australia. And with my wife still being in school for her PhD, we can't really take more than a week right now. So maybe when she's out of school this time, and we have longer periods, we'll hit Australia. I love this fleece. It is so comfortable. I've got 2 of them. And yeah, I wear them all winter. Mountain Hardware clearance sale at the end of the year. Apparently nobody bought the blue ones and they were like $12. I love cheese. That's like half of my diet is cheddar cheese. Yes, 80 or 100 series is Dex 3 ATF like the 80 series was. I eat eggs in things, but I don't eat eggs separately. I just don't like the texture of them. Eggs are gross. Yeah, I didn't eat eggs before I was a vegetarian. But like I will eat them in things. Like I'll eat French toast. And yes, they are happy doggos. But they know it's almost dinner time, so they're stalking me. And to JK, yeah, it seems everybody puts power steering fluid in there instead of Dex 3. So you would not be the first one. Yeah, I think keto diet would be rough with not eating meat. And thanks to JK for the $5. The super chat thing is so awesome. With putting the regular power steering fluid in, you can like just use like a turkey baster, and suck it out. Put regular Dex 3 in, suck it out, Dex 3, and keep doing that while the engine's running. And you can get most of it out and most of it back to Dex 3. And to answer MMA, yes, the power steering fluid does seem to be what kills the pumps and the boxes rather than using Dex 3. I don't know what the difference is in composition, but yeah, Dex 3 seems to be the way to go. And to Logan, that's what was spec'd for it. I don't think Dex 4... Is there Dex 4? I think it went from Dex 3 to Dex 6. That stuff hadn't even come out yet, so I don't know how it's spec'd. But we stick with Dex 3, or like it's labeled Dex Merc now, is what we use in them. And you might be okay if it said it was Toyota compatible, but I never really liked the phrase like compatible or can be used in, because if they're using it in more than one specification, like what are they cheating on? So Dex 3 is basically GM's old school ATF designation, and Mercon was Ford's. But I guess they were close enough that now what you're finding is Dex Merc. Like they're just selling one fluid for both of them. And is there a trick to adjusting the kickdown cable? I don't know that there's a trick. It's basically, you don't really want it taut, but you don't want it to have a lot of slack either. You know, it should be, you want to adjust it so there's just not play. You don't want it pulling on the throttle at all. But it's like just at the point where the cable kind of goes straight instead of having slack in it, if that makes sense. And there's a spec in the manual for doing it, but it's been forever since I've looked it up. We always, just adjust them so there's no slack in them. What tranny fluid do I like? For tranny fluid, most of the time we just use the part store brand. Like for us, we just get CarQuest, Dexmerk, because it's made by Ashland, who I believe also does Valvoline. And it's good stuff, and it's easy to come by. We use the house brand gear oil most of the time as well. And for motor oil, we just changed to a big Castrol dispenser thing. So most of the time we use Castrol GTX 530 for the 80 and 100 series, and we got 020 for the 200s. But yeah, I know, a lot of people run like Royal Purple or, Mobil 1 synthetic on the trans fluid. And it just, for everyday driving, it doesn't seem to make a ton of difference. So we just use the house brand stuff. We haven't done a ton of work on the 200s yet. It seems like most of them are still going through the dealer. Like we did a radiator on one last week. We've done a couple of suspension lifts on them. I've done lockers in a couple. But we haven't really done a lot of repair, maintenance type work on them yet. From what I've seen, I like them. But yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with them. Best place to buy valve stem seals, just buy the entire valve regrind kit from Toyota. It'll get you all the gaskets, everything you need to pull the head to change valve stem seals. And Toyota's going to be your best bet for the seals. I don't know that I would be comfortable with welding an 80 series head. I mean, if it's a shop and all they do are heads and reconditioning them, and they have a good reputation, then possibly it'd be okay. I just, I wonder about matching the metallurgy to the original aluminum and all that jazz. But I'm not an aluminum welding expert. My skills with welding aluminum end up with most of the aluminum on the floor. So I don't know. But I probably wouldn't want to reuse a head that had been welded on. I would try to find a used head and recondition that. And to Sullivan, you should not mix radiator fluid. If you want to change what's in there, you've got to drain it, flush it, and then start over with a different kind. A lot of them, the different chemistries will turn to sludge, or they'll crystallize out of suspension if you mix them, and it can make a real mess. And that seems to be more going between red and green than red and pink. But yeah, if it's got green in it, I would stick with green, unless you want to flush it all out and then switch to the red. But I really don't. I'm assuming like an 80 series. I don't see any problem with running green in them. That's what we have in most of them, because that's what most of them have been running before they come to us. Yeah, if they've been a shop for like 18 years, then I probably wouldn't be too horribly scared of them. They likely know what they're doing to stick around that long. Yeah, I just always worry about welding up aluminum heads. Yeah, the red antifreeze is way better than the pink stuff. The pink stuff just causes a ton of leaks that we never saw with the red. But yeah, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to bounce off of here. Get the dogs their dinner, and get my dinner started. But yeah, I'll be back next Tuesday. Until Logan, wife's getting her PhD in drama therapy. So yeah, an interesting topic. But she does a lot of therapy and counseling, and it is super awesome. And that's weird that the Camry had orange. I haven't seen that one except in the aftermarket. But yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Tuesday chats are always fun. I always learn new things. Yeah, it's cool. I like chatting with everybody. And to Poisonous Python, I will be back next week at 6. So yeah, thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe below. And if you really dig the chats and the channel, check out our Patreon link. The support is always super appreciated. And I will catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.